tu varada devi aksharam brahma sammitam gayatri chandasam matedam brahma jushasvanah ojosi sahosi balamasi bhrajosi devanam dhamanamasi vishvamasi vishvayuh sarvamasi sarvayuh abhipuram gayatri mavahayami savitri mavahayami saraswati mavahayami यो देवः सविता अस्माकं धियो धर्मादिगोचराः प्रेरयेत् तस्य यद्वर्गः तद्वरेण्योपास्महे आदित्यमण्डले ध्यायेत् परमात्मानमव्ययं विष्णुं चतुर्भुजं रक्तपङ्कजासनमध्यगं किरीटहारकेयूरकटकादिविभूषितं श्रीवत्सवनमाला श्रीतुलसीकौस्तुभोज्ज्वलं हरिं पीताम्बरधरं शङ्खचक्रगदाधरं सर्वरत्नसमायुक्तं सर्वाभरणभूषितं एवं ध्यात्वा जपेर्नित्यं मन्त्रमष्टोत्तरं शतम्. So this concludes all the mantras or verses I wanted to use from Sandhya Vandana. This is for the Gayatri Avahane and Gayatri Japa. Of course, that is the one of the most important aspects of Sandhya Vandana is Arghya and this one. So that concludes some of the verses, mantras used in Sandhya Vandana. Um, I use this all my Sandhya Vandana I do while taking bath. I don't take shower. I have not showered in 12 years. I'm glad you are having Zoom session, so it's not an issue. But I only do bucket bath, jalaka. I call it jalaka. So I do all the Sandhya Vandanas there itself very nicely. We don't waste much water, only 3 or 4 buckets of water, and relaxed in my own time. I do all the entire Sandhya Vandana there itself. So I think that's how they were doing in the river, right? They were not sitting in puja room in the Vedic times. All this time was then in river banks. So this is my jacuzzi is the river. Okay. So न्यस्तात्मीय परं वरप्रदगुरौ वैराग्य भाग्यो ददौ वेदान्तामृतसारवन्तमनघा श्री श्रीनिवासाद्गुरोः श्रीशैलान्वयकौस्तुभस्य तनयं श्रेयो निधे श्रीनिधेः वन्दे साधुकटाक्षकेलिनिलयं श्रीकृष्णसद्देशिकं गीतासु गीता कर्तव्या किमन्यैः शास्त्रसङ्ग्रहैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्मात्मनिःसृता मलनिर्मोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने सकृद्गीताम्बसि स्नानं संसारमलनाशनम्. So we had stopped here. Sadrashan chestate swasyaha prakritir gnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha karishyati. Even the wisest person is influenced by their inherent nature. He cannot avoid that. Everyone are in the sway of that nature. That's the inherent nature. There is no point in superficial restraint. That will be only hypocrisy. Yes? Okay. So then, so that's why when that happens, he says, this is today's verse, Indriyasyendriyasyarte ragadvesho vyavastito tayorna vashamagachet taushasya paripantino. So paripantino, people, it's obstacle to the path. What is obstacle to path? When all these indriyas, senses and sense organs, when they come in contact, they create raga and dvesha, attachment and dislike or like that. They create that attachment. Opposite of raga is dvesha. So they create likes and dislikes. But that one, tayorna vashamagate, we should not get into sway of that influence of sensates on the senses, because they are obstacle to the path. Te hyasya paripantino. Tayor na tayaha na vashamagachet. We should not get into the sway of that. But everybody is influenced by their own inherent nature. So influence is inevitable, but we should not get swayed by it. Indriyasyendriyasyarthe. इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे
इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे
रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ
रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ
तयोर्नवशमागच्छेत्
तयोर्नवशमागच्छेत्
तौ ह्यस्य परिपन्थिनौ.
तौ ह्यस्य परिपन्थिनौ.
Now it is a very popular sloka here. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha Paradharmat svanushtita swadharme nidhanam shreya paradharmo payavaha. Shreyan is uh, it is excelling in one own, even swadharma, whatever is, let us keep it as swadharma now, excelling in one's own swadharma, vigunaha, even if it has some blemishes, even if it is not less glamorous, let us say, that is better than paradharma svanushtita, trying to follow somebody else's dharma. Yeah, taking lot of effort, svanushtita, trying to put lot of effort in following somebody else's dharma instead of following our own swadharma, our own dharma, even if it is not highly meritorious, it's not highly glamorous. Right? Because swadharme nidhanam shreyaha. It is even good to die in it itself. Paradharmo bhayavaha. Following somebody else's um, is not good. It is better to die upholding one's own dharma. Following dharma of others is worse than death. Sadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Bhayavaha, it is dangerous. It is fraught with fear. Trying to imitate somebody else's which we are not suited to us, following that is not good. So a lot of time, what is swadharma is lot of time it is people think Sadharma is whatever you were born to. Okay, if you're an Iyengar, you put Nama and follow Sri Vaishnavism, that is Sadharma. If you're Smarta, put Vibhuti and pray to Shankaracharya and things like that and be Advaitin, that is Sadharma. That's not what it is telling here. That is just whatever we are brought up in, that's our environment, we follow that. Swadharma is what our inclinations are, what we are attuned to, what inspires us to do. It's kind of following our own bliss. That is Swadharma, staying close to what we like the most. That is following our own. Even if it has some blemish, it's not that glamorous. If you like something, it may be less attractive than something else. Um, like football players make a lot of money. It's very glamorous, very famous. If you play, get selected for, if you make it to a team, they earn millions of dollars and they have hundreds of girlfriends and everything, all the fame. They become National Hall of Fame, everything. But it's not possible for everyone. So you have to have, it has to be your dharma. So you should follow what we are good at instead of trying to, even however earnestly I try to become a football player, I will be a total failure. I can say that. So even if I spend 24 hours a day, it just won't be happen. Like you always say, fully no nari bare hakokudu. A fox should not try to get stripes looking at a tiger. The fox should be fox, tiger should be tiger. So that's what he's trying to say. In fact, it's clarified in the later chapter. The same verse comes. There, the first two lines are same. Shreyan, Sadharmo, Vigunaha, Paradharma, Svanushtita, Swabhava, Niyatam Karma, Kurvan Napnoti, Kilbisham. Chapter 18 or somewhere it comes. The same. The first two lines are same. Then he says that Swadharma, if it is Swabhava Niyatam Karma, whatever inherently attuned to us. So, Shreyan, Swadharmo, Vigunaha,
श्रेयान् स्वधर्मो विगुणः
Paradharmat, Svanushtita,
परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात्
स्वधर्मे निधनं श्रेयः
स्वधर्मे निधनं श्रेयः
परधर्मो भयावहः
परधर्मो भयावहः.
भयावहः. Yeah. You all know Guru Ramaswamy Iyengar. He, in his one of his stories, he kind of quotes this verse, and it says that typically in villages, the mango they harvest it when it's green, then it has to be ripened. They don't wait for mango to ripen on the tree. Then they put in the hay and warm it up and they ripen it. Typically, especially in areas like Bannur near Mysore, that area, that job is typically done by Muslims. So a lot of these Iyengars in that area or Brahmins are, why do we have to? We can do the same thing, what they are doing. We can warm the mango. It's not a big art. We can do it ourselves. They say that. So they get the mangoes, and instead of buying from them, they bring the mangoes and start warming it up. So these people think initially mango is not very ripe. So somebody says, why don't we make mango chitrana? So make a mango. They keep on using mango. Nothing remains. Nothing gets ripe because they start using it, making some sabzi, some goju, some mango rice. And they also, whenever they come, some people come to their home, they give it as a gift to them with tambula, with mango. At the end, not a single mango was ripe because they already had used it up. Only what was left was the hay that was used to ripen the mango. That's all was left. You cannot eat hay anyway. So then Guru Ram Swami ends, Swadharme Nidhanam Shreya. It is not attuned to us to ripen mango. We are not fit for that. So kind of a funny joke he said that. So like when I was working in PNG, PNG has a wide variety of areas. Many fields are there. So I used to tell people who work with me that if you don't like what you're doing, you better get transferred to some other place, or at least learn to like what you're doing. You may not be able to do exactly what you want, and whatever we do, we should learn to like it. Otherwise, you are wasting your time as well as time of the company. So whatever we do, we should enjoy it fully. And I will share a picture in my thing. There's a post office very close to our home. I go there very often. There is one lady, postal clerk. She is full of joy. So I wait for her. I will go only with her. I buy stamp only from her. I do everything only with her. Such a joy to interact with her. It's a very ordinary job. It is not any great job, but she enjoys it so much. She's not doing it like, oh, this is just a clerical job here, giving some stamp, stamping something, but she's full of joy. Yeah. So that's very important. Otherwise, we are wasting our life. So Arjuna Uvacha Ata Kena Prayuktoyam Papancharati Purushaha Anichannapi Varshneya Valadiva Niyojitaha. So Arjuna is changing the gear a little bit here. For what reason? Ata Kena, what is that propelling one to do bad things? Okay, what is that force which pushes people to do papa or bad things? And it's not their intention. Anichannapi Varshneya, or Krishna, Varshneya is Krishna. It's not their desire, but something is forcefully pushing them, as though like somebody's plan, niyojati. Although like somebody's plan, it makes them forcefully pushes them into do bad things. So what is that powerful force? Yes, which compels a man to sin, though it is not his intention. He does not want to be sinful. Okay. That's the question he is asking. So Arjuna Uvacha,
Arjuna Uvacha
Atha Kena Prayuktoyam,
अथ केन प्रयुक्तोऽयम्
Papan Charati Purushaha,
पापं चरति पूरुषः
Anichannapi Varshneya,
अनिच्छन्नपि वार्ष्णेय
Baladiva Niyojitaha.
बलादिव नियोजितः.
So Krishna answers, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenam Iha Vairinam. We said Kama and Krodha. So that is it is desire. Kama is desire leading to anger. As we saw in second chapter, anytime karma eventually leads to anger because all our desires will not be fulfilled. It comes to a time when it leads to anger. So karma is a desire which leads to anger when it is unfulfilled. It arises rajas. It arises from rajoguna. Raja is very active, very vibrant. Want to do more, want to get more, want to gain more. That's very active life. So it arises from rajoguna. This kama and krodha comes from. Kama comes from that, and kama leads to krodha. So it is actually, it says, mahashano mahapapma. It is unquenchable and corrupting mahapapma. So think vidhi idi enam iha vairina. Know that, know these things, as the enemies. They are our enemies. Kama and Krodha are our enemies indeed. So it is the Kama, unfulfilled Kama leads to Krodha, anger, and these are arising from a Rajoguna. They are Udbhava, Samudbhava from Rajoguna. So these are unquenchable, Mahashano, Mahapapma, and corrupting. So know that these are our real enemies. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Kama Esha Krodha Esha
Kama Esha Krodha Esha
Rajoguna Samudbhavaha
Rajo Gunasamudbhavaha
Mahashano Mahapapma
Mahashano Mahapapma
Vidyenamiha Vairinam.
Vidyenamiha Vairinam.
Then he says how closely they are related. Dhumena Vriyate Vanhihi Yathadarsho Malena cha Yatholbe Navrito Garbha Tata Teneda Mavritam. So here he says, as fire is enveloped by Dhumena Vriyate Vanhihi. So here as fire is associated with smoke, mirror, mirror, darshana is associated with dust. Mala is the dust. Yatadarsho malenecha. Yatolben avrito garbha. That is, as the embryo is enclosed in the womb, the amnion. Like that, the wisdom is, tena is wisdom, is wielded by the desire. So anytime we have we are wise, we don't want to be swayed by that. But wisdom is always also associated with desire. Anything we know something, we want to gain something from that. Any knowledge is power. Anything we have, we like to get something from that. So it is intimately associated, as intimately as smoke with fire, dust on mirror, and the amnion or the embryo is enclosed in the womb. So they're so closely connected, those two things, wisdom and desire. Dhumena vriyate vanhihi
Dhumena Vyate Vanihi
yatha darsho malena cha
Yatha Darsho Malena Cha
yatholben avrito garbha
Yatol Benavrito Garbha
tatha tenedam avritam.
Tatha Tene Damavritam.
This is one of the typically in Sanskrit, everything we pronounce exactly like how we write it. Very few things like Brahma, we write Brahma, we read it as Brahma. This is one of them. We write Vahni, but we read it as Vanhi. It's always pronounced as Vanhi, but it is written as Vahni. So it's just like Brahma, and Brahma is we say as Brahma. We don't say Brahma, we say Brahma. Right?
Brahma.
We don't say Vahni, we say Vanhi.
Vani.
We said it right. I was just pointing out. We did say it Vanhi, but
Yeah.
so Avritam Nanametena Nanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kaunteya Dushpurena cha. He said that this is this fire of desire, this kama is indeed a perennial enemy. This is Nitya Vairi. Nitya Vairi is a perennial enemy of Gnanina, even the wise people. Gnanino Nitya Vairina. Even for them, this kama is in the form of desire, insatiable desire. It feels the wisdom of even the avritam gnanametana. This actually surrounds even the wisdom. It wields the wisdom of even the wise. And it is unappeasable. It is unappeasable karma. It's not that you should not have any desire, but it is like something excessive desire, the unappeasable desire. Avritam gnanametena
Avritam Jnanametena
gnanino nityavairina
Jnanino Nityavairina
kama rupena kaunteya
Kama Rupena Kaunteya
dushpurenanalena cha.
दुष्पूरेणानलेन च.
So it's like a fire, right? Then he gives the hierarchy of what controls what. Indriyani mano buddhi asyadhisthana muchyate etair vimohayetyesha nana mavritya dehinam. So all the sense organs are seated. All this desire, where is the desire coming from? It is coming from our sense organs. They are the ones which are connecting with the sensates, and that's how the desire arises. And mind, and then it from that comes from the senses. Then it also percolates into mind and intellect. So once this desire comes to us, it corrupts our mind as well as our intellect. Through them, it eludes people by eclipsing their wisdom. That's how it, by controlling their mind and intellect, taking control of them, then it eludes them by eclipsing their wisdom. It's a gnanam avritya dehinam. That's the. So, indriyani mano buddhi
इन्द्रियाणि मनो बुद्धिः
asyadhisthanamuchyate
अस्याधिष्ठानमुच्यते.
etairvimohayetyeshah
एतैर्विमोहयत्येषः
gnanamavritya dehinam.
ज्ञानमावृत्य देहिनम्.
So then he says, as it is the indriyas we need to control. So tasmat tvam indriyan yadav. Foremost in yadav, tasmat, we should control niyamya bharatarshava. Therefore, we should control bharatarshava Arjuna. Foremost, we should control the senses. That is the, and then shattered desire, the sinful enemy, papmanam pradahihyenam gnana vignana nasanam, which is a destroyer of knowledge and reason. So first control the senses and shatter that. Control the senses and then shatter the desire, because the senses which are giving us, making it to desire something. So that is that's the order. So control the senses first and then shatter the desire. That is the sinful papmanam, defeated padahishyanam gnana vignana nasanam. It is a destroyer of knowledge and reason. Tasmat tvam indriyanyadav
तस्मात् त्वमिन्द्रियाण्यादौ
niyamya bharatarishava
नियम्य भरतर्षभ
papmanam pradahihyenam
पाप्मानं प्रजहिह्येनं
gnana vignana nasanam.
ज्ञानविज्ञाननाशनम्.
And he gives the hierarchy of how the control is. So indriyani paranyahu, senses are said to be superior to body, because body senses control the body. Then among but mind, param manaha, indriyebhya, among the senses, superior is param, is superior is manaha, mind. The sixth mind is like a sixth sense organ. It is the master of the senses. Over manasas to para buddhi. Over that we have the intellect, over the mind. So you have the senses. Body is the lowest thing. Above that is the senses, and then is the mind. Then over the mind is the buddhi, intellect. So yo buddhe paratastu saha. But the Atman is superior to the intellect. So Atman, the self in it, is higher than the intellect. So that's the order. The body, the senses, the mind, intellect, and then the self. Some people translate that this desire as top, above kama, is above all these things. The translation is also there. But I think we stayed with telling that the self is the superior, because I don't think anything can be above the self. Indriyani paranyahu
इन्द्रियाणि पराण्याहुः
indriyebhya param manaha
इन्द्रियेभ्यः परं मनः
manasastu para buddhi
मनसस्तु परा बुद्धिः
Yo buddhe paratastu saha.
यो बुद्धे परतस्तु सः.
So the saha we translated as the self. Okay. So now understand that evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhyatmanam atmana jahi shatram mahabaho kama rupam durasadam. Now, having known that Atman is higher than the intellect, and subduing the outer self by the Atman, defeat a formidable foe appearing in the form of desire. So use self, uh, uh, use inner self, the outer self is the rest of us. Use that to subdue that, because that is the highest in us is the Atman. So use that to defeat the enemy, uh, which is appearing in the form of desire. Kama Rupam Durasadam. Jahi Shatram Mahabaho Arjuna here. He calls him Mahabaho to help him. You're powerful, you can do that. Like that. Jahi Shatram Mahabaho Kama Rupam Durasadam. Actually, winning over ourselves is considered as Mahavira. Actually, that was Mahavira, right? Jain Kirtankara. So who did he win? He did not go to any battle. He won over himself. It is Mahavira. He was not involved in any battle. Evam buddhehe param buddhva
एवं बुद्धेः परं बुद्ध्वा
samstabhyatmanam atmana
संस्तभ्यात्मानमात्मना
jahi shatrum mahabaho
जहि शत्रुं महाबाहो
kamarupam durasadam.
कामरूपं दुरासदम्.
I like you put some raga in that. That's good. I learned from you, so I put some raga after leaving. Then again, like a dog style, it goes back.
Oh, no, it's okay. Whatever little father taught, so I think that comes. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Let's
Appa
do the
taught a little bit.
concluding one. We'll do for it. Om Tat Saditi
Om Tatsaditi
Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu
श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु
Upanishatsu
उपनिषत्सु
Brahma Vidyayam
ब्रह्मविद्यायां
Yoga Shastre
योगशास्त्रे
Shri Krishnarjuna Samvade
श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे
Karma Yogo Nama
कर्मयोगो नाम
Tritiyo Dhyayaha.
तृतीयोऽध्यायः.
Yeah, we translated this Karma Yoga as selfless action. That is what. So this chapter is a lot of chapters have some mix up here. I think this whole chapter was dedicated pretty much to the selfless action. So it's a very interesting chapter in many ways. It gave us how nobody can keep quiet. We are all driven by our own nature to act. So our duty is we cannot subdue that. We cannot prevent the action itself. It is driven by our nature. How we should not be swayed by it. And it also talks about Loka Sangraha and gives example of people like Janaka who worked for the welfare of the world. Sometimes it's a lot easier to do something than just be not doing anything. Of course, we cannot sit not doing anything really, but something when you focus on something, it's a lot easier. Um, even if it is not for Loka Sangraha, our mind is in a better control when busy hands are happy hands. They say they're happy mind, busy hand like that. So that is also there for, I think a lot of people write Rama Koti, Shanti Koti, things like that. That kind of also helps them to continue. My own yagna is, I collect those berries, Manasakali berries. They're very tiny berries and make sauce out of it. It takes a long time. So that kind of very focused at that while doing that. Like that. So he tells very beautifully, it's all give and take. We should, if we didn't do that, we are actually burglars. We are thieves. Not that only when you steal something we become thief, will be put behind bars. But when we enjoy whatever we got, all the benefits, and if we did not pay back, in any form, uh, then actually we are stena evasaha, he says. Of course, that's another important thing he says. Then, of course, ahara shuddhi. He says anything we consume, we should consume with an attitude of gratitude, like a prasada bhava. This should be true for all gifts, not just food, but the food he says, but it's also true for any of our blessings. It's only a gift. We did not bring anything. We'll not take anything. Um, so that kind of attitude we should have, not ownership, but you're a beneficiary, be benevolent, have a sense of. So a lot of people, a lot of Hindu activists say that just like the food labeling, Jain food, halal food, kosher food, like that, they want to label Hindu as Shuddhi food, but it doesn't make any sense because you can label it as vegetarian, you can label it as GMO free, you can vegan, organic, no peanut, no color. You can tell all those things, but we cannot really put a Shuddhi label for Hindu. Jain food, fine. If you say vegan, you can call it Jain food. Whereas for Hindus, there is nothing like that. For us, the Shuddhi comes at the attitude level, not on the label. You cannot just say, if you cannot have a Shuddhi label on the food. But depending on your choice, you may avoid onion, you may avoid garlic, you may avoid meat. But that's not exactly definition of Hindu Shuddhi. So we always eat whatever we were brought up with, what we are conditioned to, what we relish. But the important thing is eating with an attitude of gratitude. That is the Hindu Shuddhi. So you cannot put a label on that. That's why there is no label for Christian food, right? they don't say they don't put grace because it's just that we have label only for uh, there where it is made of how the food is made. If that is restricted, then you can put a label. For Christians and for us, they say grace. We say eat it with an attitude of gratitude. Very similar to that. So that really doesn't make sense putting a Shuddhi label. And another important thing in this is Swadharma, following uh, what is very close to us, what we enjoy doing. There's always a value in a lot of time. If we do what we enjoy, just the act itself makes us happy. Instead of trying to do something which you are not fit for. You cannot pretend on that for too long. Uh, you cannot be all the time. It can be okay. Like when you go for interview for a job, we go in nice suit and wear tie and tell only the right things. It's only for 1 hour interview. But every day, once you get the job, you cannot be like that in that company all along. Um, I used to I used to travel for licensing in late 80s and early 90s with my colleague Catherine Bartosh. Lot of time this trip used to be just a 1 day trip or half-day trip, go presentation and have dinner and come. So then she said that we were going for 2 weeks to Europe, 1 week to Europe, 1 week around USA. She said, how should I behave? We are going to be for 2, 3 weeks like that. I told her, if you are going to be together only for an hour or two, I can dictate, you can dictate me how I should be, I can dictate how you should be. You be yourself, I'll be myself. I don't pretend I like Italian food. You don't have to pretend you like Indian food. One day I will go to Indian restaurant, another day I will go to Italian restaurant. So nobody has to pretend. So if it is only one day affair, you can prescribe. So we should always be close to what is our Sadharma. So that's a very important message in this. Then another very important sloka, I think, is the Tattvavit Mahabaho Gunakarma Vivagayoho Guna Guneshu Vartanta Iti Matvana Sajjate. All our mannerism adjust to the surroundings. We should not get upset because of that. Oh, it was not like that. We will always be thinking in the past. We will miss out enjoying the present. Because some people have the habit to go to Niagara Falls. Not about joke falls, so like that they are talking about joke falls when you go to Niagara Falls instead of enjoying Niagara Falls. They're always thinking of something else. When they're eating dosa, they're talking about that Bisibale bath is very good in that restaurant somewhere like that. So you should enjoy. whatever it should live in the present, not not compared to something else, because everything changes, and that's also very important. I think there are all some important verses in this chapter. It's a very focused chapter that way. Is the Also, I like the idea that every one of us are born with a sense of service. Sahayagna prajasishta. Everyone want to be useful in this world. So these are all very interesting things in this. So we have another some 8 minutes. We can start a little bit of chapter 4. Chapter 4. Then this is Jnana Vijnana Yoga. We call it as wisdom in action. Chapter 4. So Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanah Mavyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manu Rikshwakave Bravit. He said, this yoga, Imam, I taught, Krishna says, I taught this yoga. This is imperishable yoga, Avyayam. It doesn't get exhausted. I taught this to Vivasvan. I taught it to Vaivasvata, Vivasvan. Then Vivasvan taught it to Manu. Manave Praha, he spoke to him. Manu spoke it to Ikshvaku. So in that, so I taught Vivaswan, then he taught it to Manu, Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku is all the solar dynasty. Sri Rama belongs to Ikshvaku Vamsha, like that. So he's telling here that the so this is Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Imam Vivasvate Yogam
Imam Vivasvate Yogam
Proktavanaham Avyayam
Proktavanaham Avyayam
Vivaswan Manave Praha
Vivasvan Manave Praha
Manu Rikshwakave Bravit.
Manurikshvakave Bravit.
So the age we are living in is called Vaivasvata Manvantara. So that's the first. This Manvantara is named under Vaivasvata, Vivaswan. He is the head of this. One day of Brahma is 8.4 billion years. So that is 1,000 cycles of Chaturyuga. That makes it 8.4 billion years. That is led by 14 Manus, 71 cycles each of them. 71 times 14, and sometimes left is called Sandhya, some gap. So out of the 14 Manus, each Manu rules for 71 cycles of Yuga. So after the 14 Manus, we are on the 7th Manu. So that is why this Vaivasvata Manvantare, we say when you do the Sankalpam, Vaivasvata Manvantare, Karayuge, like all those things. So he taught, it doesn't mean that it was the first time. For this Manvantara, he started teaching to Vivaswan. Then he continues, Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajarshayo Viduhu Sakale Neha Mahata Yogo Nashtaha Parantapa. Parantapa is Arjuna, annihilator of enemies. So Evam Parampara Praptam. This was transmitted as Parampara, as a tradition from family to family like them. This one Rajarshayo Viduhu. Philosopher kings were aware of this. But what happened? Sakale Neha Mahat. After long passage of time, Yogaha Nashtaha Parantapa. Yogo Nashtaha Parantapa. So after long passage of time, it was transmitted through Parampara. Rajarsis knew that regular succession, one after another, without break. Then during long passage of time, it appears as though it is lost. Because he told Avyayam, it cannot be lost. It's as though it is lost. That's why. So essentially lost, or as though it is lost. Thus handed down in regular succession. The Rajarsis knew this. But over long course of time, the yoga is essentially lost. Arjuna, he says. Parantapa Arjuna. Sayevayam maya tedya yogaha proktaha puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. He says that this one, I have now taught you. He taught that Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, right? So far, he has taught that. in the chapter 2 and 3. So he says, I taught you this now by the same ancient yoga. I did not taught now. This is ancient one I taught you because you are my friend. Saka, your friend. Bhakta, you're also admirer, or a devotee, an admirer of me. This yoga is a supreme secret indeed. He says, Rahasyam hi etat uttamam. It's a great secret I taught you because I like you and you admire me. You are my friend. That's the reason I taught this uh, karma and Jnana Yoga he taught so far. So Arjuna asked, but aparam bhavato janma paranjanma vivasvataha katametad vijaniyam tvamadau proktavaniti. He says that you were born much later than Vivasvan. I think Krishna was only a year or two older to Arjuna. He's Samakalina at the same time. So Vivasvan was born long time ago. How could you have taught to him? From Adav in the beginning, Krishna never said beginning. He said, I taught to Vivasvan. But Arjuna says in the beginning, Proktavaniti. Uh, how could you have taught to him? The beginning. He said. Arjuna Uvacha,
Arjuna uvacha
Aparam Bhavato Janma,
aparam bhavato janma
Paranjanma Vivasvataha,
paranjanma vivasvataha
Katametad Vijaniyam,
kathametadvijaniyam
Tvamadau Proktavaniti.
त्वमादौ प्रोक्तवानिति.
It's interesting. Arjuna asked only this. He never asked, how was it lost? He never asked. Krishna said, during long succession of time, it was lost. So he just took it like that. Okay, long passage, it lost. He never said that who lost it, who was responsible for dropping it, and things like that. Sri Bhagavan Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam vetha parantapa. We have gone through many lives. Bahuni me, countless lives we have covered. Janmani, you and me. Tan aham veda sarvani. I know all of them, but you don't know parantapa. Natvam vetha parantapa. You don't know. We have been many lives. We have been there. I know them all, but you don't know. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan uvacha
Bahuni me vyatitani
bahuni me vyatitani
Janmani tavacharjuna
janmani tavatarjuna
Tanyaham Veda Sarvani
tanyaham veda sarvani
Natvam Veta Parantapa.
natvam vetha parantapa.
So now he says, even though he is not born, Ajopi Sannavyayatma Bhutanam Ishvaropi San Prakritim Swamadishtaya Sambhavami Atma Maya. Sambhavami Atma Maya. Sambhavami Atma Maya. Ajopi, even though I am not born, I am the Lord of all. Uh, Ishvaropi San, Lord of everyone, of all the bhutas, all the living things. I am the Lord of everything. I am not born and I am imperishable. Avyayatma. Son of Avyayatma. I am imperishable. I am not born. I am the Lord of everything. Yet restraining my basic nature, prakriting swamadhisthaya, my own basic nature, restrain it and incarnate myself by own maya, atma maya, sambhavami atma maya, restraining my own basic nature. My basic nature is not to be born, but I incarnate myself by my own maya, atma maya. So, ajopi sannavyayatma
Ajopi sannavyayatma
Bhutanam Ishvaropi san
bhutanamishwaropi san
Prakritim Swamadhisthaya
prakritim swamadhisthaya
Sambhavamyatma Mayaya.
sambhavamyatmaya sambhavamyatma
Okay, I think we have 40 minutes left. I will stop here. We can pick it up tomorrow. Rest. Uh, any any comments from Hari or any discussions? As we covered the complete chapter 3 and 2.
One request, Gurugale, ಇದು you said about Manvantara, Brahma sage, all those math count is there, right? Is it
Say that
possible
again.
to get that highlight in the group?
Say that again.
Okay, so we talked about Brahma sage, so many cycles, so many Manvantara, so many Manus. Is it possible to get that like a little
Yeah, I will send a
highlight what you
slide.
think? Yeah.
Basically, the four
I
yugas make
forgot
it four.
about
Yeah.
it long
Four
ago.
yugas, Kali, Treta, Dwapara, Satya Yuga add up to
Right, right,
4.32 million years.
right. That those
So
kind that
1,000 of them make it 4.32 billion years. That is daytime of Brahma. Same length is nighttime of Brahma. So 4.32 plus 4.32 makes it 8.64 billion years. So that is divided into 71, 14 manvantaras, each one spanning 71 cycles like that.
Kalpa.
71 cycles, and this is the seventh Manu we are in. Vaivasata Manu is seventh. I have a slide, I will send you that. Yeah.
Basically, we have this staggering concept of space and time. So, both in terms of space and in terms of time, we have a very starting from the smallest possibility to the largest, there is this conception.
Basically, kind of Anadi, Ananta, like that. No beginning, no end. All this spiraling like that, one after
Yeah,
another.
and also sometimes people ask about this, four yugas.
Mhm.
I don't think we should take it literally that, some 30, say, whatever, so many 86,400 years as
Yeah.
Kali Yuga, and then before that's 1 lakh years, something. I don't think we should take that very literally. But more than anything, it is just a sense of how, the society changes
Yeah.
from especially if we see the exposition of the Krita Yuga and then the Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and the Kali Yuga. It's more reflective of a kind of change in human society, starting from a nomadic person, hunter gatherer, when the entire society is consisting of nomadic people, we cannot have, there is no need also for a court of law and that kind of very strong centralized structure, because there is no need for law and order. People are moving and they're based on survival. Then slowly things settle down and agriculture starts. Then you need a setup. When you have agriculture and trade, you need some protection from the police and other things. So, like this, when we see a change in human society, we also can see that kind of movement across the yugas, but it should not be taken seriously. Sometimes people take these numbers very seriously.
Yeah.
So,
No,
to
but what
be
is
out.
interesting is just a coincidence. That's all. How they came up with 8.64 billion years. And we have 86,400 seconds. How that kind of multiples? So it might have been just a imagination. We have 86,000. Like Isha Sadhguru says, we discovered zero, so we add a lot of zeros. So, so we have 86,400 seconds, then you keep on adding zeros, zeros, zeros. It becomes 8.64 billion years. So I
I
think the
think somebody has
concept
a question.
is the vastness. That's what Bill Moyers was telling, that what's the difference between East and West? Concept of time in the East is very vast. Here we are sunken to think. Actually, when European scholars came to India, at that time they were thinking exactly the biblical time of 5,000 years, 6,000 years, like that. That's why everything they try to fit in that time scale. Now we know that people were there more than 6,000 years ago or 7,000. Now they actually revised it. They say that Adam was not the first man. Now you can go in Google and see there's a lot of revision has happened there. Um, that there were already other people. Adam was the prophet, they say. Adam was not the first man. Uh, so, because all worked in that time scale, uh, because they were trying to fit everything around 6,000 years time period like that.
I
But
think
there are
that's a
some
question.
common things have happened. Like we say, Kali Yuga started 3,200 years ago, like that. And there is Babylonian, there is a flood, there was a flood in the biblical flood. There's something happened, obviously. Some kind of flood happened from one state to another. Water level rising or something. Even before we started driving, there was the sea level has gone up. Could be. Yeah. Go ahead, Harry. You were saying something.
Yeah, there's a question from somebody. Yeah.
Hi, this is Murli. Gurugale, I have two questions. The first one is the timeline. When exactly is the Bhagavad Gita started? What is the timeline? And the second question is about if you can elaborate a little bit on the whatever is above the mind we have. What are the two things you said? Atman, and there is something between mind and Atman. There is one more, right?
Okay.
That's the intellect.
Intellect, yeah. So if you can
Above
elaborate.
mind is intellect. Above intellect is Atma. But some people translate this. Karma is even above all those things. The time-wise, what we think is the Kali Yuga, we are living the present Yuga, started 3102 Common Era, BCE, about 5,200 years ago. And the Mahabharata war is supposed to be 34 years before start of Kali Yuga. So you can add 3102 plus 34, it is roughly 3134 BC. That's when we think the Kurukshetra war was. So about 5,000 years ago. Little over 5,000 years ago. That is some people are pushing, if you listen to Nilesh Vok, he says Kali Yuga started 5,000 something BCE. He pushes by another 2,000 years. So we really...
Yeah, but dating what has been done, the 3,136 BC, we have one of the strong evidences the reference points is what we call as the Ravi Kirti Shasana or the Ravi Kirti's inscription in Aihole. So that is about 600 AD. And he, in the inscription, talks about a period, whatever, so many years before him, which roughly corresponds to this 3100 BC. And some other evidences as well that point out to this possibility of Mahabharata. Because what happens is nowadays there is a great enthusiasm to show that it was very ancient. And it cannot be unreasonably ancient. We should not, just like how we cannot err on this side and say that Mahabharata is like the Western, some of the scholars who came to India, this is all like 500 BC or something because they wanted to fit it the biblical time scale. Just like how that is a deviation from the truth, saying something is 5,000 BC or 20,000 BC, just like keep adding the zeros, that does not make it right. So about 5,000 years seems reasonable. And after that, we have the Sutra period, and then Manusmriti is about 800 Manu, and then Panini 600 BC. Then from the last 2,500 years, I think the timeline is usually like from Buddha's time. It's usually yeah.
Buddha, Mahavira, then it's more 500 BC. It is more. But we have to think that what we have, our oldest text we have is the Rig Veda. But it's such an organized text. We don't know when it was organized like that. If I say which one of our scriptures are so well organized, this Rig Veda. So every hymn has the rishi who gave it. There are 464 rishis. Some were rishikas, 27 rishikas were there. Their names are there. And what deity it was dedicated to, that verse. And then what is the poetic meter? Everything is Rishi, Chandas, and Devata. Like Gayatra, Rishi, Vishwamitra, Devi, Gayatri, Chandaha. Like the Savita, Devata, Gayatri mantra is for Savitra, son. Like that, it was by Vishwamitra. And the Chandas is Gayatri meter. So like that, for every... actually, when we do Sandhyavandanam for every mantra, we are supposed to do that nyasa. We are supposed to tell who is the Rishi who gave it and what is the deity being. So It's such an organized book, and it was all in oral tradition. That's amazing. I think somebody made the observation, I may be quoting wrong, Will Durant, I think, made the observation that the Vedic time, there was no script because these people are not business people. They did not need. It's only account keeping. It comes only when you have business. People who are of the higher spirit, spiritual people don't need to keep account. They don't have any transaction money coming, going. So they say that actually the scripts came to India through traders. Phoenician traders. Actually, a lot of our Brahmi Lipi has some origins in Phoenicia, which is present-day Lebanon. So there were trade between India and that region. Actually, in Lebanon, Hindus have built temples there. That's where the script came, and then Brahmi Lipi came. From that, all the scripts came. Actually, if you notice that there is a lot of similarity between Tamil script and Devanagari script compared to, if you look at Devanagari versus Kannada, there is hardly any similarity. But if you look at the Tamil, so they think that these traders brought it. So there is a lot of overlap. So that's what we like to know. What was there before that when the Rigveda was composed? It cannot just fall from sky like that. Such a such an evolved text. In fact, Dharma, we'll talk about it. Dharma is introduced in the first mandala of Rigveda itself. We think that the only Upanishads have high thinking, but actually, if you go through Rigveda, there is a lot of high thinking. Nano, Vadraha, Kratavo, Yantu Vishwataha. That is beautiful thinking. That is, right? It is, and Ekam Sadvipraha, Bahuda Vadanti. These are all very high level of thinking. These are all coming in the Samhita of Rigveda itself. Even though we kind of think that higher knowledge is in the Upanishads, but we can see that Rigveda itself. In fact, all the creation hymns, the Nasadeya Suktam comes in Rigveda Samhita itself. Such an evolved kind of thinking. So, and this is in Samhita. It's not in Aranyaka or Brahmana or Upanishad. So there's a lot of. So it will be very, very intriguing to know what was this kind of people and how we did not develop anywhere else. How it expanded only in India. There are a lot of people who claim Vedic origin, right? They say that Ukraine had a Ashwamedha Yagna was done 2 years ago in Ukraine and all those things. But how it developed is really amazing. So,
yeah, Will Durant also talks about the geographical and geological factors of history, right? So
yeah.
the kind of land, the geographical lay of the land with so many rivers, maybe at that point of time was also one of the important factors.
Exactly. It's a very fertile land. Even today, which country has more irrigatable land? Not USA, not China, India. India is much smaller. Even after partition, it is shrunken even more compared to United States. But irrigatable land is more in India than in USA or China. That's why we are the only, very few animals have gone extinct in India. My friend from Iran was telling that even the lizard is gone there. Even everything is extinct. Even that we still have lizards falling on our head in Bangalore if you have a tiled roof. But there is almost every animal. We are not lost in spite of so much pressure on the land, but still it's there. So, amazing. So any other?
I am still intrigued by the Atman and intellect and what is the difference.
That Atman self is considered as the highest thing in us, right? Atman is the
consciousness. Is it the
conscience? Yeah, so our conscience, soul,
Mm.
spirit, Chaitanya. We call it
For the sake of,
Chaitanya.
I think they made the distinction for ease of working, because obviously all these things are like one unit, right? It's very hard to separate really like emotion from mind and mind from intellect and this kind of a thing. But I think for the sake of analysis and study, they developed some of these terminologies, and each of the school of philosophy sometimes specifically defines these terms. So in Gita, it is broadly defined as mind and intellect. But if you go to some of the schools of philosophy, they will exactly pinpoint what they mean by all these terms. So yeah, so one is the where there is a emotional thing at play at the level of manas, and intellect or buddhi is where one is able to disconnect from the emotional part of it and see things objectively. So in that sense, there is a little more importance given to that. And when going beyond even thought and analysis and just being oneself, that is the state of Atman. That is the true nature of the person, which is present even in deep sleep. Whereas in the deep sleep state, there is no buddhi, there is no manas working. What remains at the end of the day is the self. So in that sense, they make a distinction. But this is a subject of deep study for thousands of years, and the darshanas discuss about this in greater detail.
Does ego come in anywhere in this spectrum?
Oh, manas, then ahankara, chitta, buddhi. So these are the distinctions that are made. So chitta is again kind of existence. Ahankara is ego. Manas is mind. For ease of translation, I mean ease of kind of thing, we are using these words, but there are slight variations also. But all these are we will come and encounter these terms in the discussion of Vedanta.
Okay, thank you.
Usually, mind is kind of, we don't
this is
consider.
Lakshmikant here, isn't it? Isn't it that Man, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, these four elements are part of the Antakarana, and then
Yeah, Antakarana.
and they
Antakarana
are
is
Antakarana. So because they are Antakarana, each of them is each of the Antakarana based on the function that it exhibits. It is either called as Chit, it is either called as Buddhi, it is either called as Man. So or it is either called as Ahankara.
Yeah, so the Sankhya school divides it in a particular way, and then other schools are different. So this is a very, involved discussion, which requires a different, kind of study. But all these different schools of darshana talk about these terms in different ways, and they define it differently. So we have we have some of the different schools of thought, where one will say that these are all the manifestation of the same thing. Another one, these are different things. So it's a different, it's a huge area of study by itself.
I mean, if we go through multiple philosophies at the same time, then yes, each philosophy will call something different. Because if you go through Jainism would adopt certain principles of the Sankhya and then deviate from it. Buddhism will adopt certain parts of it and then deviate from it. We have to probably stick to one school of thought to which you want to graduate in.
That's up to you. I mean, every individual, some people are interested in darshana, some people are not even interested in darshana, some people are interested in studying all of them, comparative study of darshana. So it's left to every individual. I think I'm nowhere to comment about that.
Gita is kind of very broad. It is not it's not specific to anyone. Kind of a broad. That's why we call it Sarvanukula Shastra. Everybody can find something in it.
At the same time, Koti sir, doesn't Gita foundationally chapter 2, it starts with Sankhya Yoga. So it takes the principles of Sankhya, gets into those aspects of what the Prakriti, the Purush, and the Tattvas that make everything. And then goes into the next aspects of of getting into how does the realization happen. I mean, but that the foundational piece of Gita in the second chapter is about Sankhya Yoga. Am I going wrong there?
I didn't get the question. Maybe Hari got it.
No, I
I
said
think we are at time, sir. Hari ji also already left.
Yeah.
This is a deeper discussion, sir. Maybe you can send an email to Koti ji and take it one-on-one, so we are not distracting the whole class and going
that's
off
okay.
track.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfectly.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a hard on hearing. If you everyone has to yell at me like my wife, then I will hear it.
No. There is no need.
Yeah.
My wife also has to yell at.
Uh, okay, we can wind it up. See you tomorrow. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhavet. Yato dharmas tata krishna, yata krishna tato jayaha, tata jayaha, tato jayaha. Yeah. Namaste.
Namaste, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Dhanyavad,
Bye.
sir.
Thanks, Indra. Ghosh, Yagnasya Ghoshadasi Pratyustagam Raksha. So Ghosh is a good name. Yeah.
Ghosh is my
Ghosh is a
husband's last name.
Bengali name, right? Ghosh is Bengali.
ನಮ್ಮ
Are you
ಯಜಮಾನ್ರು
married to
ಬೆಂಗಾಲಿ.
you're married to a Bengali?
ಹೌದು. Yes.
Oh,
I
okay.
met him in school.